I think that it's about time that Comey acknowledged publicly what a disservice he's rendered to our country by doing nothing except interfering with the election. That is beyond all precedent, what he did. He became such a partisan that he should become the new chair of the RNC. I've said he should resign a long time ago, but obviously he's basking in the glow of the election because that's how he wanted it to turn out.
Outgoing Senate Minority Leader Reid blasting the FBI Director James Comey as Democrats continue pushing the narrative that Comey's decision to renew the Hillary Clinton email probe 11 days before Election Day caused her to lose. Juan Williams is Fox News political analyst and author of We the People, and Mercedes Schlapp is a former media spokeswoman for President George W. Bush and a Fox News contributor. Juan and Mercedes, great to have you both here. Good morning to you. Good morning. I was listening to this yesterday, and I was struck. I mean, it is very damning and perhaps unfair. Juan, what do you think? Fair or no?
Well, I think it's very fair. I mean, I was even struck when you said narrative, because to me, what we're doing here is simply reporting what happened. I mean, it's unprecedented that Jim Comey, the FBI director, would intervene in a national election so close to Election Day. But the part that really stuns me is the recent reports about how they were so lackadaisical with regard to the cyber threat to the Clinton campaign, informing the campaign of it and going after the threat. And of course, we now know, this is no narrative, again, we know that all the U.S. intelligence agencies, with the exception of the FBI, joined in saying that Russia is responsible for this hacking.
Yeah, except Julian Assange says it wasn't. And, you know, that whole idea that they are coordinated, I think you have to leave that at the doorstep, Juan, when they won't sit down with the committee that wants to ask them questions about it, because clearly they are not on the same page with this. Mercedes, what do you think?
Well, it's unprecedented that you would have a former Secretary of State basically have a homebrew server in her house where we know that there was classified information that went through her server system. And so I think that we also have to realize that Mrs. Clinton brought this upon herself. Not only that, we can also add that obviously she was one where from a political strategy standpoint, it didn't work in the battleground states. Her messaging was off. She was focused completely on trying to attack Donald Trump personally without pushing forward a strong economic message. I mean, Martha, there are so many components as to why Hillary Clinton lost the election that to just say we're going to blame it on Comey. Let's remember that Comey was not a fan of the Republicans or the Democrats, because when you look back at that July press conference, it was Comey who didn't recommend to the Department of Justice to move forward on a Clinton indictment. And at the end of the day, the Republicans were upset at him.
Exactly.
So we have to keep that in mind as these Democrats continue to push forward this narrative that it's Comey's fault that Hillary Clinton lost this election.
I mean, I think you got it. It's a wash, Juan. I mean, first, he comes out in July and says, that she was behaved terribly and recklessly, but we're not going to indict her. Then he comes out and says we reopen the thing. So of course Republicans were all excited about that prospect. Then he comes back and says, oh, we didn't find anything. How they got through hundreds of thousands of emails in that time was a big question mark. So I think a lot of people on both sides questioned all of that, but I don't know how it could possibly weigh heavily on one side or the other. But Democrats seem to be sort of grasping onto this in a big way right now.
Well, Martha, it's not a wash. This is a totally false equivalence. And Mercedes goes on about Hillary Clinton's emails. To me, again, Hillary Clinton and her emails, you can make a judgment about it, but it is no way the equal of a foreign government seeking to subvert a U.S. election.
How did they do that, though, Juan? How did they do that?
Let me continue here. The idea that you have a foreign government involved, and then Comey coming forward with regard to the emails that Mercedes was talking about, and, coming to the conclusion, he said it was unanimous that Hillary Clinton had done nothing that would justify prosecution. And then he goes on and rants against her as if to make the case, even though he hasn't decided to recommend a
gosh,
prosecution to justice. That looked like a partisan
Juan,
effort right there.
You know what?
And then to come back just before the election,
I take direct insult to that. Working at the White House, talking to individuals who have been in the military with high security clearance, they will tell you clearly that if anyone were to mishandle classified information, they would have been prosecuted.
But
that is very clear. They always felt there was a double standard with Hillary Clinton.
FBI, Mercedes,
so for you
hold on a second. Nobody at the FBI thought she mishandled anything.
All right, so no, we know. Look, to some extent,
where do you want me to go with this one?
But what they said was that she was reckless in some regard, but nobody said that she had mishandled information in the way, let's say, a general portrays.
No, she was not indicted, and Juan is absolutely right about that. And you know, to a certain extent, you know, you do have to put that behind you now. But to suggest that, you know, that the Russians released John Podesta's emails that said nasty things about his own candidate at times, that he didn't think she was a great candidate, revealed things that were said about Catholics and others. Nobody has disputed the content of those emails, Juan. It's not like they're saying that the Russians, you know, sort of engineered the outcome by rigging into voting booths across the country.
That's right.
Well, we're talking about emails that no one has disputed. Now, believe me, those emails are going to come out on Republicans. They're going to come out probably on the Trump folks.
Martha,
they'll come out on everybody before this thing is through.
Martha, you get a special gift this Christmas because you hit the key. One of the interesting developments in recent days is reports that, in fact, the Russians had the capacity to hack the RNC, did not do it. So they did it solely
able to. They failed to infiltrate because of the RNC security.
Well, hang on, let me finish. They did it against the DNC, released those gossipy items that were then picked up by the press as, well, this is legitimate. But you know what? The idea is it was directed against one candidate in an American election.
All right.
I hate to say it, but to watch the political assault by President Obama on Donald Trump in the timing of talking about this Russian hacking, when we know lawmakers and even Vice President Biden came out and said that fundamentally they were not concerned about the Russians hacking this election. Biden said that back in October, and because their candidate lost, they've decided to bring this up. Come on, Juan.
This is bigger than that. Bigger than politics.
Good debate. Mercedes and Juan, thank you very much.